After 8 years of the nomadic life, involving crossing oceans in a 34-foot Sabre, refitting an aluminum boat, and then taking that to the Arctic Circle, we're back at it again with a brand new build. This is Matt, and I'm Jessica. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and join us every week as we start our newest project of building a 42-foot catamaran from the ground up.
Now on to our next layer. We've talked before about there's some additional framing that goes up. So once we get this floor in place, the sole in place, there's some framing that goes up. It's 405 millimeters. So right here, and this supports that lower part of the joint along the hulls, and a lot of the pressure in the bow, the twisting of the bow ends up running into that area. So that's where that strength is necessary. And then above the flange, we have another layer that's 890 millimeters high. We've decided to switch things around a little bit from the plan. This is with approval, of course, from the designer and engineer. But the original plan called for something similar to this. So kind of like this area. And then a full solid floor piece that would ride along this area. So what that would do is now our sail locker, this is the sail locker, access from the deck, would have a height about this high. Everything below that was going to be a buoyancy chamber. Not really necessary because of what we've talked about before with all the floors and everything like that. So what we've done is we've changed it up a little bit now. So now we are dropping the floor down to this 405 millimeter area, putting in a solid floor here so we can gain that extra little bit of depth of storage in here. And then above that, we are doing these. So engineering wise, perfectly fine, not an issue with that whatsoever. It's just swapping it around, and because we feel we would rather have that storage up here for all the sails and things that we're going to have, versus having that little bit extra buoyancy that really is not necessary. So this makes it real fun. It's long enough of a reach that I can't quite get to it like this, and work the fiberglass if I need to or anything like that. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to do it kind of in stages. First, I'm going to make the cove along each one of these sides, try to give a little bit more strength to this, because of course I can't step on this yet. It's just not strong enough for that yet. So we'll get the coves in there, let that start to harden up and kick. And then we can go through it, and I can glass as far as I can reach, so probably about to here well, and we'll get those in place, get this aft strip in place, and then I should be able to stand on this section and glass that area over there. And then the same thing that we did with all the other floors, we'll end up putting in our foam inserts back in, and then glass that whole structure back together. So same process, just a little bit different because we can't actually reach it.
Which is which?
Which is which?
As you can see, we now have what is going to be the raised floor of our sail locker between bulkheads 2 and 3. Between the steps, Matt was able to get everything down, kind of fiberglassing that first part, waiting for that to cure till he could kind of climb in here, put weight on it, and get the back part. And there will be a hatch right above my head here, which is how I'll gain access. Probably 1 to 2 steps in the corner here. Didn't really think about that before I started writing all of the Patreon names here on the Hall of Fame, so we will have to kind of work around that, but this is the finished space, and yeah, I can't wait to see what kind of sails and other things we start to fill it with.
We are now working on our bulkheads and chain plates. As you can see, chain plate behind us, this is solid laminate here with a bunch of unidirectional on the other side. On this side, we are now, basically we need to add our unidirectional. Original plans called for embedded backing plates, stainless steel backing plates. They kind of found out it's a little bit difficult for amateurs to do that, so now we're doing the new revised program. Again, engineers designed this, the new revised program, which is having us pull out this bulkhead and actually get the laminations underneath here instead of butting up on either side. We're going to get the laminations underneath. That is 4 layers of unidirectional and 1 layer of double bias. It's going to go on top here, and then we'll be able to tab it eventually to this bulkhead.
To get the shape that we need, it's easiest to work with our double bias fiberglass. So right now we're going to kind of tape it into place and then trace out what area needs to be attached. And then we'll cut that out and then trace that onto our unidirectional so that everything is cut to size before it gets up here. And the big thing is do not crush this. Distort. The first piece of glass we put down was a sheet of unidirectional, which was cut to be 390 millimeters wide. It was positioned to sit evenly on each side of the bulkhead. Once it was in place, we thoroughly wet it with our vinyl ester resin and worked to get out all the excess air. The next sheet to go on top was another layer of unidirectional at 540 millimeters wide. We realized that because of undulations in the surface, our rollers easily wanted to pull it flat and create air bubbles. So we knew on the next side we'd have to create a better ramp around the mount so this wouldn't happen. The last sheet of unidirectional to go on was 690 millimeters wide. And at this point, it was getting a little harder to handle and wanted to adhere before it was properly positioned. But with one person holding it steady and the other rolling it into place, we managed to get it exactly where we wanted it. Lastly was our sheet of 45-45 double biased, and this was the largest piece of glass at 840 millimeters wide, which, as we were trying to get it to slide behind the bulkhead, we found it a little harder trying to manage snags, but once it was in place, it was very easy to roll out. Sorry about that. It looks like the battery didn't have enough life to finish us doing this project, which is a shame because right after the battery cut out, I realized is when we pulled out our bubble roller to go after any of the air bubbles in addition to the metal fin roller, and that thing just kicked butt. It made it so smooth. Part of the thing too is we thought it was going to need only one layer of the double bias on top of the unidirectional. Turns out it was two, so good thing that we weren't doing both right in a row because we wouldn't have had enough to do the other side. It was pre-cut, so we stole it for over here. But honestly, I think this is some of the best glassing that we've done. It was one of the areas that we were most worried about, but it turned out great. So now this is incredibly reinforced, and since this has been done now, we can begin to adhere the bulkheads to the side of the hull, starting with number 1 way up in the front, because that's going to kind of, for the whole side, shape it a little bit more. So I want to get that in with the nose cones, make sure everything is flush, and then we can kind of bam, 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 go back and start it, glassing all of the sides of the hull. But getting closer every day, and once we get those done, and we get our bonding agent in, it means we can do things like the deck, which is really exciting. So from time to time, Matt and I do break away from boat work and go do fun and exciting things. Last week, I think you saw us go for a sail on our friend Swan out on the Chesapeake. Today, we're going to do something that we've been talking about for a really long time, and that's going out with our friend Jason, who is captain of the Marylander back here. And we're going out crabbing today. Supposedly, it's like a really good season once we start to get into fall, so we're excited for that. We've got a couple other people coming too, but I think it's going to be a really good time. We are now off the docks, out of the jetty, and into the Chesapeake Bay. Conditions are a little cloudy today. We're hoping that the sun will break out in the next hour or two, but winds are about 10 to 15 from the north, and a little bit of a chop on the water, but hopefully not too bad. So I think we're going to head up toward the bridge, which is right this way, and then Jason's going to find us a good spot to drop the line and grab some crabs. Where we anchored our boat for the 2012 Annapolis Boat Show, which is the last time we've actually been there.
Yep, grab a little bit of that line right there. Let's move it through. Yep, there you go. And so we want to make sure that we just want to let them go. That's awesome. Just like that. Yeah, so when we get to the end, what I'm going to do is to make sure that this line's running tight.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to kind of see, like based on, you know, how high it's riding up front. You'll see the baits. The more slack that you have, the harder it is to see the crabs because you have a lot of slack and they're running deep in the back here.
Oh, okay.
But the tighter the line, the more spread out it is, so you have more opportunity
pulls them up faster or pulls them up more even.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is actually going to be a little on and off filming for us because we're going to be kind of like hands-in involved, like with the crabbing. We've just dropped the line with chicken necks attached, so there's an anchor and a buoy at the start, and then Mike, the mate here, was just like hand over fist, kind of like putting the chicken necks in. And once we get to the end, there's a line with the anchor, so it's like pulled taut and then kind of dropped. And I guess right now we're gonna give that about 10-15 minutes, like let the crabs come to the line, start chomping it, and then Jason will circle back with the boat. Mike will grab that line, and then we're going to start bringing it in, and then all of us aboard will have nets that we're going to start grabbing the crabs out. So I don't really know if I'll be able to film that, but it sounds like a lot of fun.
So this is round one.
So that's a female.
This is a female. You can tell by the orange claws that are kind of on there.
Okay.
And then you look at the back apron. But you can see on this one what a male looks like. The apron, see? This one looks like the Washington Monument. Yeah, I know.
How the crab hurts and put her back in the water. Yeah, there's 2 females right there, 1 male.
The only place to hold her is back there. That's the only place you can grab a crab.
Really? They're even back
Watch
there
this.
they'll grab?
Oh yes. See how far she can reach? She go underneath that.
Wow. I'm glad they're color coded. That makes it a lot easier.
That's right.
Oh, and it was a keeper too.
That's a keeper one. You set that 5 1/4.
In between the runs where we've dropped it off, we head back to the beginning of it, and in that process, the mate, Mike, goes through and checks the crabs to see if they're male or female. Matt and I have had them a few times now, so we can start to tell as soon as we get them in the net, and if it's a female, she just goes right back overboard. Or if we're excited, she goes in the bucket and is checked later. And then once it's determined it's male, we have to check that it's 5 1/4 from point to point. If it is, we get to keep it. If not, it goes back and grows to hopefully be caught again next season.
So we're going to see this one. So see the 2 points here? We're going to measure point to point. So right here, this one's 5 1/4, so we can keep that one.
How many keepers are we up to now? I mean, you don't have to give me an exact, but.
Yeah, probably a dozen.
Nice.
A dozen nice ones.
2 runs. There's one.
Spending 10 minutes.
Oh no, it came right off. Yay! Woo!
Good job. Okay, come on, there's one. So how many runs do you normally do?
At least a dozen. I mean, at least a dozen. At least until we get a basket of crabs. We shoot for 2 baskets of crabs, but generally we try and get at least a nice basket of males.
Uh-oh, we got one on the loose. Crab off and away. Oh, it's like Georgie, just like tucked herself in a little corner.
Get that job you're talking about.
Yep.
We can pass them. She's gonna film it.
It's about a 7-inch crab right there.
Is that a pretty good size?
Yeah, that's a real good size crab.
I want to see that big dark one I caught.
What are you
Just so everyone knows that one's mine.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let me see.
That one's got to go back and grow a little bit more too.
are bringing in the line right now, which means it is the end of the day. I guess some stragglers will hang on the line, and that's what Matt is doing, is getting ready to catch them. The winds have really calmed down, so conditions are great, and we have caught so many crabs here that once we head back across the bay, which is hopefully a little calmer ride than the way out here, we are going to have ourselves a feast by steaming all of these crabs up.
I said, son, when you grow up, you'll be fine. I know you've got questions on your mind. Life is gonna happen one way or the other, whether you like it or not. Stop looking for the answers, and you'll find what you've got. I met a young man searching for glory.
Now we're getting ready to cook up everything that needs this pot today in this big pot. Hi guys.
We're
So perfectly steamed, what, about 40 minutes later?
Like 35 with the full basket. That's good. You want at least 15 minutes of heavy steam.
What size are you?
Oh yeah. Great seeing you. As you can tell, we've been way too busy to film because this is our pile of crabs for about the past 20 minutes. More to come. They're absolutely delicious, super fresh, and all in all, it has been a wonderful afternoon, and we cannot thank Jason enough for taking us out.
Give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, let me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. Life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces. Yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.